Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another exciting evening of magical racing. And the iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC has brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And we are here today, of course, for another strength-fulfilled race. It is week number 8 of the 2026 Season 1 campaign, and we have made our way all the way to Austria for none other than the Red Bull Ring. However, unlike its typical guise, where we normally see our drivers roar the way around, its Grand Prix layout, instead in our Toyota GR86 Cup cars today, we're going to be seeing our drivers take on its national layout. Focused on the southern half of the circuit, and therefore consisting of only 1.46 miles in length, or grand total of what be none other than 6 quarters, this circuit is short, it's sweet, and it naturally encourages pack racing, and that's what we can expect from all of our drivers from start to finish. And if anyone's able to break away here today, they may just be able to storm away to victory. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight, catching this on YouTube, the one and only place you can do so week in, week out, and is at none other than youtube.com, and search for Paul Walsh Productions, alternatively PWP, and you'll be catching all the weekly strength-filled racing from our regular slot on Saturday evenings, at least UK time, that's Greenwich Mean Time, or Universal Coordinate Time, GMT or UTC, and we're covering all the racing action from the top split of what is the 20:45 or quarter to 9 session in the evening. But as all drivers get set and ready to go racing today, well, what exactly is our schedule? We have our 15-minute race on the schedule, as per usual, and at what will be 5 to 9 this evening, we'll be making our way to the grid to see how they all get on and who is actually going to be the one who can prove themselves to be awesome in Austria and therefore come away victorious. And with such a field we've got here today, and a very good strength field as well, we can expect all drivers to be going for their all. But without further ado, as we get ready to go racing, let's give you a recap of the season so far and what we've got lying in wait. For as we can see, we have made our way around the globe, and we opened up all the way back on the 20th of December at the Virginia International Raceway. And it's crazy to think now, it's been 2+ months since what has been our season opener. But here we are then for week number 8. It's the 7th of February, and we are at the Red Bull Ring. And as all of our drivers get set to take on the Red Bull Ring, well, the natural thought process is going to be here. Surely this is going to be a circuit that many are familiar with, and everyone is going to be able to feel very comfortable with taking on. Because the last time out at Side Point Raceway, it was also a circuit that many would be highly familiar with. But in the end, we got to see some absolutely brilliant battling action there, and in week number 7 it was Gabriel Balog in the end who was able to steal away the victory from both Leo Mueller and also Kobe all 3 of them newcomers to the grid, and we got to see in the end what was an absolute steal made by Gabriel Balog right at the end of the race, whereby he was able to sneak ahead of Leo Mueller, and Kobe in the end was also right at the thick of it but wasn't quite able to take the places back, and the 3 of them really made themselves stars as everybody else meanwhile battled hard for 4th all the way through to 17th place. But after today we'll make our way to the Brands Hatch circuit on the 14th of February to the Garden of England that is Kent, and we look forward to seeing plenty more racing action there as well. But here we are today then at the Red Bull Ring. And in terms of how the points stand in Division 1 of what is the Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC, we can see after what is week 7, it is Brent Schneekopf who is leading and dominating, some would say, by a maximum margin right now of 811 points to the 379 of Josh Ball, who is holding on to second, comfortably ahead of Nick DeBeck, who really brings up the rest of the field there, only the best part of which 24 points ahead of Alexander Viramievich, and Rafael Bardi only behind him based on result countback. Now it's Wolverton in 6th place ahead of Nick Madsen, with Nico Weber, Michael McQueen and Gabriel Balog round off that top 10, and Balog making his way into the top 10 after that win at Summit Point. He'll be very happy with that one, and he'll be hoping that could continue. And as all of our drivers make their way into this week of racing, well, let's talk a little bit about our circuit, shall we? 6 quarters, a grand total of 1.45 miles in length, or 2.33 kilometres. It is the national out of the Red Bull Ring in Austria. And well, this circuit located in what is the Styrian region of Austria, local to Spielberg, is a circuit that has definitely become a staple of what is motorsporting series around the world, and therefore everyone will be very excited to take it on today, and we're very excited to see them all take on what looks to be a very straightforward 6-corner layout, but understandably behind that simplicity lies the complexity when it comes to battling. And in terms of our rules before we go racing, well, this is a fixed setup series with setups provided to our drivers ahead of each and every week of racing. As for how we set the grid shall be set via a closed qualifying session, which is currently ongoing and coming to a close very gradually. And when we do go racing, the racing shall commence via a rolling start, as is a tradition of the iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup. Now, drivers shall be disqualified should they accumulate 17 or more instant points, and hopefully you won't see that. We've only seen a couple of disqualifications this season in these strength of field races, seeing one, of course, at Summit Point last time out, and hopefully we don't see too many more of them, because that that will be putting drivers on the naughty step. But let's see them all put themselves on the good step today and put their best step forward as we make our way back to circuit side. And as we do, well, how exactly are they all getting on here? We're not too long left to go in this session. And what we can see right now, well, it does look as though it's going to be David Martinez on his debut. Indeed, we've only got 2 familiar faces here on this grid of 20 drivers today, but it is David Martinez right now who is currently a provisional pole sitter on a 56.794 and the best part of 7.5 hundredths faster than none other than Claudio Diaz, with Tim van Grunsven meanwhile not too far behind. Leo Mueller, he's back on the grid today. He's going to be looking to be starting 4th at this rate, ahead of Milo Webster, and Sid Ariel will complete your top 6. And the other regular we have seen here today is none other than Josh Ball, and we're very eager to see how he gets on as well. But as we do, say hello to a few of you there in the YouTube chat, including none other than RP Corp, a regular viewer of this series, of course. A good evening to you, sir. I hope you're doing well. And we also do say hello there to J Mando, who said, here we go, let's get it, Josh Ball. And indeed, Josh Ball last time out, well, had a lot of difficulty at Summit Point, albeit not quite as difficult as it was at the Nordschleife by comparison a week before that, where a driver spent 3 laps making the way around the Eiffel Mountains and Ball right at the front of the field in the battle for the lead until a major incident all the way up towards Klosterol Bend and Mutt Curve saw him relegated to the very back of the field, but he carried on to finish the race as he started it. Now, we do have 2 drivers who have not set laps, and that's why this qualifying session is going to go the full 8 minutes of distance, and that is Simon Russell and Antonio Alvarado, but they'll be starting from the very back of the field, and we'll see them make their way to the grid shortly. But in the meantime, Seppo here is keeping us intrigued as he makes his way on around. He's not on a valid lap. He's already completed his lap, so he'll be starting 14th at best, ahead of Warren Roloff, who is out there as well. It is Orange GR86, and, well, we've seen the number 6 driver make his way on through. Now, the strength of field here today is 2,579 approximately. Some other large strength of fields compared to what's been previous weeks. However, we say it's going to be a good one because of the fact, knowing when you get a slightly large strength of field, you've got a lot of drivers with lower I ratings looking to push themselves forward. But, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's make our way to the grid and see how they all line up for our one and only race today. And as they all make their way onto the grid, this is how our drivers will start this race. We do see taking pole position for the Week 8 Strength for Field race here, none other than David Martinez. He will be joined on that front row of the grid by what will be his fellow Spanish driver of Claudio Diaz. Then on row number 2, we have Tim van Grunsven ahead of Leo Mueller. And we do see the German driver there once again trying to go for victory. And he thinks, I think you feel, as though he deserved the victory last time out at Summit Point Raceway. But it didn't quite work out at the end. He was literally robbed of it right at the end, albeit fairly robbed, we should say. It was the steal of the day. Then we do have, starting in 5th place, Milo Webster there, the American driver. We look forward to see what he can do. Only 3.5 tenths back in that 5th place spot. He's ahead of Sid Ariel, the Indian driver there, looking to go forward from that 3rd row. On row at number 4, we do have Juan Ramon Hernandez, the Spanish driver, just ahead of his fellow countryman, Sebastian Garcia. And then we do have Josh Ball, the regular and one of the favourites on this grid for our spectators. And indeed, in terms of racers, the American driver there starting 9th ahead of his fellow countryman of John Chrissy. Behind Chrissy in the number 3, starting in 11th place, we'll then have what will be Ole Schroeder and the German driver in the company there of Klaus Wood, who completes your 6th row. And then on row number 7, it's going to be Sasa Jojovic ahead of none other will be Seppo, and the German driver being followed up by the New Zealander, or the Kiwi as they're also known, of Mark Taylor. He's going to be joined on what will be the 8th row of the grid by Warren Roloff. And then we will see from the American driver what will be the Briton of Chris Haynes, and he'll be in the company there of Martin Mayer. And then completing that top 20 and completing your starting order with no valid lap to their names from qualifying is going to be Antonio Alvarado and also there Simon Russell. But Russell has not made his way to the grid. I wonder if he might be starting for the pit lane. Alternatively, there may be an issue with the car, and it may be that Russell is going to retire before we even get started. And if so, that's going to be sad, but it does sometimes happen, to be fair. Sometimes there's a technical issue for other drivers, and they can't always make it into the racing. So we may be only having 19 starters here, but we start with a full pack of 20 or 19. It's going to be an exciting one, no doubt about it. And the formation lap gets underway, but it is going to be a very short formation lap here as all our drivers make the way around. You can see a lot of our leaders and very eager to quickly get around in single file. They're trying to essentially get some tyre temperature and some brake temperature, whereas the field further back, they've decided to go too wide for a bit, but then they're suddenly going to have to rush up to the front of the field as well. They're all getting a hurry-up call here, and indeed, over the 1.45 miles of length, understandably, this formation lap will go as quick as a flash, as we do quickly flash over to the YouTube chat there to say hello to Phil McDougall. Good evening to you, good sir, and I hope you're doing well. But as all the drivers coming down now, well, very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be to this man to take us away for plenty of racing action, 15 minutes of it. It is David Martinez, and we wait for him to take us to the green for the Week 8 Strength for Field race here at the Red Bull Ring. And as he builds up the speed, it is lights out and away we go here as Dave Martinez builds up the pace. And as he roars his way away, we'll catch as many a driver out as me. But oh, it's all gone wrong already right at the back of the field. And well, Josh Ball's caught up in it again. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Several drivers here being caught out. We're going to get a replay of that. But before they've even gone green flag racing, there's been absolute pandemonium right towards the back. And that's collected at least 6 cars by looks of things. But we'll get you a replay and an understanding of what exactly happened as soon as we can. But meanwhile, those who have survived immediately roar their way in towards turns 1, 2 and 3. And as they go on the switchback here, already cut back onto the latter section of what will be the Grand Prix circuit. Well, David Martinez, he may have got away from the field early on, but now the very colourful cars behind him are all playing catch-up. But as we can see there, Liam Mueller right now staying firm in 4th place behind Tim van Gunsen. And the Dutchman trying to hold his ground as they get ready to come into the downhill right-hander here of Jochen Rindt. We see Seppo there as well, looking quite close in the Bud Light machine. I do believe that's Bud Light as he makes way into the pit lane. So he's got a black flag for some circumstances. I wonder if he has decided to jump the start, essentially, or that's what's been deemed he's done. And we have the yellow flag here for Sid Ariel. That will be for track limits. He will have to burn what will be an automated slowdown penalty assigned to him by the iRacing shooting system. And he has to do that within approximately 20 to 30 seconds of it being awarded, depending on the severity of the slowdown. Otherwise, it will be upgraded to a stop and go in the pit lane, and nobody wants that. But meanwhile, what we want is even more fighting as Dave Martinez makes his way into turn 2 for the second time of asking. And Claudio Diaz there right behind them. The two Spaniards right now pushing each other onwards with Van Gunsman behind. Then we have Mueller. Then it's Milo Webster in 5th place ahead of Sebastian Garcia as they come back on themselves. Then we have the all-machine, the all-blue machine there of Sid Ariel ahead of Warren Avolov, and it's going to be Jean Chrissy there, currently running in 9th, a little bit further behind as they roar the way onwards, because there is Chrissy in the all-pink machine ahead of Antonio Alvarado, and that's going to be your top 10, with Mark Taylor best the rest right now in 11th place, as we do have a black flag for Sid Ariel, and I believe that will be for track limits, so therefore his slowdown was not served, and Ariel's penalty has been upgraded essentially, and he will have to come into the pits within the next 3 laps. Otherwise, that will be upgraded further into what will be a disqualification from the race, if my memory serves me correctly, of the severity of automated penalties. But meanwhile, coming to the battling here, well, this is Webster versus Sebastian Garcia, and in the end, they're going to swap places as Sid Ariel there has had a bit of an altercation on the run up the hill. I wonder if he's been in contact with another driver or whether that's his own volition, but that's not a place to have an instant coming into turn 1, not even getting to the braking zone before it's gone wrong. And I wonder there whether something has gone very, very wrong for him. But meanwhile, whilst it's all going wrong further down the order, it's all going right further up the order here as these drivers all pushed each other along. Dan Martinez, Claudio Diaz, Tim van Gunsman and Leo Mueller all pushing themselves onwards as they make the way in towards the right-hander at turn number 5. This top 4 definitely getting intriguing as Milo Webster meanwhile still holding Sebastian Garcia behind, and Garcia there watching him very closely. But down into this braking zone they come. These drivers right now continuing to press each other, but I wonder whether these two are perhaps thinking to themselves, what if we actually work together? Could we potentially catch up to the leading 4 as they get ready to fight? Well, we've got a long way to go, and the lap's being so short here, sub a minute. When you do the mathematics, we are expecting a grand total of what will be 15 to 16 laps around here, depending exactly on how the long laps are as we go deeper into the race and tyre wear becomes the theme. All these drivers coming on around right now, and Antonio Alvarado meanwhile, well, we do see him all over the back of John Chrissy here as they make the way through turn number 1 in the Hatsune Miku machine. And will that be in a reference there to the Vocaloid character, if you will, very popular character around the globe. It's grown into an international phenomenon, and indeed Good Smile Racing do have a livery in real life dedicated to Hatsune Miku, if I remember correctly, and you'll see that racing in GT World Challenge Europe, and also I do believe at GT World Challenge Japan. But as we do see Antonio Alvarado make his way up to speed, a bit of a poor run there coming out to 2 in towards 3 and 4, so therefore he falls backwards in that 9th place spot, and John Chrissy right now is able to open up a bit of a gap. But as we get a bit of a gap in the action, it's a perfect gap for us to be able to fill it in with what exactly happened right at the start. And before we even went officially green flag racing, this is what went very wrong for many of our drivers. So this was as they made the way out the corner. Josh Ball on the left there. We're looking at Ollie Schroeder. The whole field bunched up, and when they went racing, Ball making contact there to the rear of the white car in front of him. I think that was Ollie Schroeder, and suddenly it all fell apart. In fact, that was not the white car there of Ollie Schroeder. That was Ollie Schroeder rolling around and spinning over in the air. I wonder what else happened. Can we get the onboard from Ball's perspective? Yes, we can. So let's listen. Well, that's very interesting. Now, I think what's happened there is essentially some drivers have misinterpreted the pace of the start procedure, and Ball's gone, seeing that the rest of the field is going, and the driver in front of him hasn't gone, either because they haven't realised the rest of the field is going, alternatively, the car in front of them was not going. Can we get another camera angle? Perhaps a Mark Taylor here. So this was Taylor, who was further back in this order, in fact. So we're not going to exactly see everything, or will we? It definitely all comes down to Ball and the car in front of him having to come in together there, and that's what really triggered off the domino effect. And Mark Taylor in the end on that inside had nowhere to go, and the rest of the field had to try and make its way through the wreckage. So very unfortunate, but definitely an interesting one. As meanwhile, we then come back to what happened to Sid Ariel. This was on lap number 1. This was Ariel making his way up towards turn number 5. He was at the time running in what was 6th place, and as he made his way through turn number 5, I think this is going to be where he picks up the yellow flag, the slowdown penalty. Yes, he does. So that explains how he got it, and then what exactly happened afterwards to then trigger off this instant coming onto lap number 3. Will make his way up the hill, battling with the number 6. That was the car of Warren Roloff. As he made his way up the hill, Roloff straight into the back of him there. I don't think Roloff had a chance to react to that. Can we get on board with Roloff? I think we might be able to. As the on board, keep an eye on the rear of Sid Ariel's car. And on the brakes there very early, and I don't think Warren Roloff expected that. Now, we knew Ariel did have a black flag for what was not serving a slowdown penalty. I wonder if he's misunderstood the fact that slowdown has now become essentially a drive-through stop-and-go penalty, and Roloff in the end has just been in the wrong place at the right time to be able to go into the back of him, braking so early there. A lot of miscommunication. I don't think it was necessarily malicious, but definitely there. I think Roloff will be wondering when he gets out of the car, what exactly was that all about? And indeed, I think we're all asking that question right now. But still, what's happened has happened, and as our drivers make the way through, indeed, a number of you giving your thoughts on what happened, particularly before we went green flag racing, including Phil McDougall there saying pushing the guy in front before green is a big no-no. Indeed, I'd 100% agree there, and I do think in the end, well, Ball, where he was at the time, understanding he wanted to get going, but I think in the end there was a bit of a misunderstanding about when everyone was going to get going. But we get going back to your live pictures because we can't be doctor and an analyst of everything that happened right at the start. That's for the stewards to do. And as we do look to the fighting that's going on here right now, well, we do have a leader breaking away. The car on the left there, the Golf Machine, is effectively a lap down in this group. That is going to be the car of none other than what I do believe was Leo Mueller there decides to step around it, and Diaz goes out very wide. Julio Diaz, he picks up a slowdown, but that is going to be the car that is now going to be a lap down there of none other than what will be, I believe that is Klaus Wood there, who is already a couple of laps down in this running order, and the number 10 driver now gets to get into the fires. I almost lose my words there because the number 2 Leo Mueller goes around all over the back of what is Claudio Diaz, and I think there he's probably tapped the car in front of him, and it's gone around on him as very quickly as that. It's all gone inside that top 4 as he gets it turned around, makes sure just to clear the road before everyone comes on through, but it definitely has been a bit of a scrappy day right now, and hopefully somebody's able to make some sense of it. As meanwhile, Dave Martinez and Tim Van Grunsven, meanwhile, these two are still fighting, so we've still got two heroes right at the front of the field, and Martinez is serving a slowdown for what is track limits at turn number 5, so this is going to enable Van Grunsven, who started in 3rd place, to leap his way into lead, but as he does so, coming in towards turn number 1, well, I think Martinez will try and come back, and we've still got to burn that slowdown. It's not easy to, and that's the one thing we didn't really talk about in the build-up to today's show, is the fact that here at the Red Bull Ring, track limit, the policing of them is very strict, and the slowdown penalties you pick up here are also very severe. You do not want to go off the road wherever possible, because otherwise you're going to find yourself losing a lot of time, and Martinez has just given you a demonstration that he has just lost essentially 1.5 seconds of race time, and he's lost to a gap of 1 second versus Van Grunsven. But still, we'll see what's going to happen between them, as meanwhile Webster and Garcia now fighting over 4th rather than what was 5th previously, as we ride aboard here with the 5th place man in the number 13. As he makes his way in towards turn number 5. And well, these two enjoying a good little scrap. I think they're trying to also, in a way, work together, albeit they're enjoying the fight as Garcia goes a bit deep. They're getting a bit too close for comfort. Runs out wide coming out of A1 Ring corner. In reference to the original name for the circuit, also known as the Österreich Ring. It's gone through several naming iterations over its extensive history. Garcia running that wide, he is going to burn a slowdown there. So you can see those track limits being policed very strictly. And well, that's credit to the iRacing automated steering system there, making sure drivers do not abuse those track limits whatsoever. But as Garcia now has to continue burning the time, he will definitely lose a bit of time here to Webster coming in towards turn number 2 and out of it. So that gap is going to get bigger and bigger by the second. Meanwhile, looking further back to drivers who are effectively a lap down. Here is Sasa Jodorovic as he makes his way up towards turn number 1, chasing after one Ramon Hernandez. And well, chasing after the Spaniard there, who has got what will be the machinery of none other. I believe that's Mark Taylor just in front, but Taylor is a lap ahead of these two. So therefore, the 7th place man right now has the pressure of 15th and 16th, but he knows the pressure is only for its unlapping. It's not actually for position or race position, we could say. John Chrissy, meanwhile, he's got Liam Mueller all over the back of him like a bad rash. Mueller is definitely trying to make some progress here and get a lot closer after what was his incident earlier on. We are going to get a replay of that shortly to understand what happened to Liam Mueller, because it's uncharacteristic of him to have it go so wrong like that. But making the way out to turn number 6 and onto this straight. Start finish right now. John Chrissy here holding his ground to the all-pink machine. Mueller here getting close. Does he pull out to the inside of turn number 1? Yes, he does. So Mueller's going to go for it. And well, will Chrissy respond here? The answer will be no, not yet. He cuts back in immediately here. And I think Liam Mueller might have just done this absolutely textbook style in order to be able to walk away. And indeed, as he comes into turn number 2, there's the confirmation of it. But you take a look back to a moment which didn't go quite right for Liam Mueller. And this was back on lap number 8. Now, this was coming on down through 2 into 3 for the right to left switchback, all over the back of the Castrol livery machine, and he tapped the rear of it there by the looks of things. Now, that's going to be interesting because that will be the reaction force of the two cars. Can we get the onboard from Liam Mueller's perspective? I think we might be able to. Here it is. Right, let's just listen in. Was there contact? I think there might have been a little bit of contact there. It's not quite audible whether there was a crunch between the two cars, but you could see the Castrol machine in front definitely shake sideways, where I think it might have been bumped to the rear coming out of 3, and Mueller in the end, as a result, having to lift off the throttle, and we're already unsettled in the car, given that contact, and we'll lift off the throttle there with the way the weight's distributed in these cars, very quickly turning it into a pendulum and swinging it around. So for Liam Mueller, I think he wanted all the pace, but unfortunately the car in front of him wasn't as quick, and that's what led to that incident there. So one to learn from, but indeed these GR86 cars, very different machines compared to how they were in 2025 with the revision of their physics engine and also their time model. These cars much more sensitive now to weight pitching, particularly over the front end, given the fact they are front engine rear wheel drive, so the engine's towards the front and they're driven by the rear wheels, and these cars can very quickly go from stable to unsettled as quick as you just saw there. But meanwhile, back to your live pictures, and the fight for 4th and 5th is still ongoing as these two make their way around. They're still enjoying a good little ding-dong battle. And well, our top split right now coming towards its close. Only what is 3 minutes 20 left on the clock. But understandably, these drivers right now enjoying the scraps that are out there. And well, we do have a bit of a runaway leader at this point, Tim van Grunsven. He's been able to get away from David Martinez because of the slowdown penalty that Martinez had the best part of 3 laps ago. Claudio Diaz is also trying to catch up here. So your top 3 separated by 1.5 to 1.5 seconds. Indeed, it is equidistant between the top 3 drivers, and it's a further 5 seconds back where all the attention is with regards to the rest of the top 5 between Webster and Garcia. But it's not just about them in terms of fighting, as we do have there Mark Taylor and Ole Schroeder going toe-to-toe. Schroeder, remember, was the guy who ended up rolling his roof at the start of the race. And well, he did get the car repaired there. It was quite a quick repair. It was a very flush roll of the car. However, Mark Taylor's in front of him right now, and Taylor, who started in 15th place, is up to 10th. So understandably, your number 16 driver, I think he'll be very happy if he's able to keep this together right now, because he is looking to be in a good spot here for what will be a strong result. Schroeder, meanwhile, well, the man who started 11th, he's going to finish there, but it's not the way he expected to finish there, if it's the way the race is going to go for the remainder. But we will see what's to come here, because right now, well, he's putting that pressure onto Taylor, and Taylor doing everything he can to hold position. And then the car behind them, well, that is going to be a lap down car, I do believe, and therefore it's not going to get involved. That is none other than Sasa Djordjevic, and well, he'll be looking to unlap himself if he can. But from these guys, they make the way up the hill. We ride on board for a brief moment, looking back from Mark Taylor's car. Schroeder here, does he look for the move into turn 1? He does. He's going to go for it, the Gazoo racing machine. And as they come through too wide there, and in the end, a bit of contact, bit of further contact, and well, it's messy between the two of them. And well, I don't think Taylor there was going to take no for an answer with that contact initially by Schroeder. But in the end, well, I think both drivers will be having a conversation with each other after the race about that one, because definitely that could have perhaps been done a bit better. Meanwhile, we look back to the front of the field. 2 laps remaining. Given the time, we have 1.5 minutes left on the clock. And the Rainbow Power Machine here at Tim van Grunsven will right now running away. 2.6 seconds ahead of David Martinez, and it's a further 3 tenths back to Claudio Diaz. And Diaz has caught up to Martinez because Martinez has had another slowdown coming out of A1 ring corner, the final bend of this circuit, and Diaz all over the back right out in the Castrol livery machine. And this was the car that Mueller was in contact with when Mueller got demoted down the order at this very corner at turn number 3. So that explains who the Castrol livery machine was, and well, lovely livery on that car. That's a throwback there to the JGTC, the JGTC era of what is now known as Super GT, or back there it was known as GT500, the Japanese touring car series. But as they make their way down in towards turns 5 and 6, well, we stay in the present rather than the history, and right now Van Grunsven looks to be very much in control. Only a slowdown here could really bring back this into the contention. These two, all 13 error of his own. But these two right now continue to push each other along, and I wonder if Diaz is going to look for the fight here, because here we go, final lap. We ride on board with your third place man here. The battle of the two Spaniards. It's that braking zone, and well, heading through turn number one. Plenty of apex curve there for both of them. Both going up onto two wheels, but right now Martinez holding on a little bit more. Ready onto the brakes here, no change. Meanwhile, is there change of foot for what will be Garcia versus Webster? The answer is yes. Garcia up the inside here in the blue machine versus Webster. The American driver might be losing this spot. They're going to go door to door here through two. Can Webster hang it all the way to the inside of three? He tries to. Can he get the car back on the inside? Yes, he can, but it's only a small bit, and in the end he has to back off. There's not enough pace to do so. And now up towards turn number five they go, and Garcia and Webster here still nose to tail. It's going to be side by side here between Martinez and Diaz, but we have to leave them be for a brief moment, because the number 7 here, the Dutchman on his debut in the Straight Field races, Tim van Grunsven, takes victory here at the Red Bull Ring by 3 seconds in the end over what will be Claudio Diaz, always will be Martinez, and in the end it is going to be Diaz just ahead there by what will be half a tenth, with then it will be David Martinez behind him, and then it will be Milo Webster who brings on home 4th place, with Sebastian Garcia in the end losing out right at the finish. I think Garcia's made a mistake or picked up a slowdown somewhere. We'll have to see what happened there. Warren at Roloff takes home 6th place ahead of Leo Mueller, and then it will be John Chrissy taking home 8th place ahead of Antonio Alvarado. And then we're going to have Mark Taylor very shortly, made his way to the finish here at the car. That definitely has been bruised, it has been beaten around, and well, there are some question marks about his race with Ole Schroeder in particular, but still those questions will be answered after the racing, and he will come home 10th on the road at least, as he makes his way across that finish line. Martin Mayer, he'll come home in 11th there, best of the rest of number 15, and then it'll be Ole Schroeder who comes on through to a 12th place there, and understandably, I think he might have some words to say about that one, as number 5 driver sees the checker flag, and the rest of our drivers a lap down. They're starting with Chris Haynes. But definitely a bit of a scrappy race here today at the Red Bull Ring. They're not all going to be 100% clean, although I do think a few drivers will be taking a look back at this race and looking at how exactly they could have perhaps done a little bit better in negotiating what has been circumstances, and particularly that race start there with several drivers right in the thick of it, and not exactly the easiest start to proceedings. But still, as we always say with regards to any motorsport, when it goes right, it goes incredibly well, but when it goes wrong, it can sometimes go exceptionally wrong. And here today, we've had a mix and a blend of it, but nothing can be taken away from the fact that for all of what has been our 19 starters, well, we have seen 18 of them see that checker flag, which is lovely to see. Unfortunately, we did lose Sid Ariel very early on the race, and we had a non-start for Simon Russell, but it's great to see so many drivers making it to the end, even if it hasn't been the perfect race for them. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And as we can see for our Week 8 Straight for Field race in the 2026 Season 1 iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup campaign by SIMAGIC, well, it was none other than Tim van Grunsven who took victory in the end by 3.5 seconds. We see RP Corp there saying congratulations to TVG, and that's, I believe, his nickname there, or just the abbreviation of his initials. And well, he does be channeling a little bit there of what would be SVG or Shane van Gisbergen, albeit a Australian racing driver there in a very different style of series. But I do like the ring there for TVG for Tim van Grunsven, and I think that might stick going forward if he's going to be on the grid for our future Strength for Field races. He took victory over Claudio Diaz, who in the end was able to just outrun David Martinez to the finish line. And a two-way battle between the two of them. We will get a replay of that after we've gone through the results, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry, we do have that in mind. We do want to see how they finish the race together. And, well, that was your podium and the battle of the Spaniards, with David Martinez losing out in the win due to slowdown penalties and losing second in the end as a result of falling back into the clutches of the 11. Milo Webster took 4th place in his race-long battle with Sebastian Garcia, and we're not quite sure what happened to Garcia right at the finish. He was going for the move for 4th, and he's lost out. And then we do have Warren Roloff in 6th place there, the American driver, just ahead of the German who recovered well to 7th of Leo Mueller, and then John Chrissy took 8th place ahead of Antonio Alvarado, and then it will be Mark Taylor there completed at your top 10 from New Zealand. Best of the rest 11th was Martin Mayer, the German driver there, just ahead of his fellow countryman of Ole Schroeder, who was relegated to 12th after his contact with Taylor. And it was a lap down for Chris Haynes, as it was for Josh Ball, Juan Ramon Hernandez, and also but was your 16th place finisher there of Sasa Djordjevic, and we also did see that lap down at Sepp Seppo. Many of these drivers, of course, caught up in what was the race start procedure instant. 2 laps down, it was Klaus Wood in 18th place, and then we did see an early retirement for Sid Ariel after what was his stop-and-go penalty awarded in the early stage of the race due to not adhering to a slowdown penalty, and we had a non-start for Simon Russell. So 20 starters, and in the end 18 finishers, of which we did see 12 on the lead lap. But before we wrap up today, let's take a look back at that brilliant battle for second place, and also what happened for 4th. We go back in time, and we take a quick look back at the battle between Claudio Diaz and David Martinez. So this was their battles. They made the way in towards the penultimate corner, and it was going to be Martinez on the outside. It was Julio Diaz on the inside. Into the braking zone for A1. They gave each other the space, but you can see Martinez set up the switchback here, and it'll be a drag race to the finish. He couldn't quite use the toe, and in the end, Diaz squeezed him as much as possible to the pit wall and just did enough there. I think if the straight was about 10 metres longer, it would have been a dead heat. 15 metres longer, and it would have been Martinez's, but it was Julio Diaz who brought that home. As for Webster versus Garcia, this is what happened between them. It was Garcia ahead, and then coming down the hill from turn 5 into 6. 2 wide they went into the corner, and as they made them out, a tiny touch there, and it just upset Garcia's car, and Garcia went spinning on around, but still was able to get home to 5th place there. And well, I think that might have just been what was a little bit of a nose too far in for Webster, and Garcia will be a little bit angry at that one, but I'm sure he'll also reflect and appreciate what's the brilliant racing between the two of them. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, we wrap up here today at the Red Bull Ring, and as we do, well, it's time to talk a little bit about our title sponsor here for the Toyota GR86 Cup, and that, of course, is SIMAGIC. Now, a big thank you to our series sponsor, SIMAGIC, because without them, this would not be possible. And in terms of knowing a little bit more about them for the uninitiated, SIMAGIC was founded in 2018. And when it was founded on the basis of the question, how can we bring the thrill of real racing into everyone's home? And so, SIMAGIC has rapidly evolved its product range into a full racing ecosystem just to do so. So whether you're looking to get your hands on steering wheels, servo bases, pedals, handbrakes, or shifters, every component is engineered in-house and built to reflect the company's commitment to innovation, quality, and delivering uncompromising performance when you are racing. And if you want to keep chasing poles, podiums, or personal bests, why not check out SIMAGIC's range of products at their website, and that is simagic.com. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, it has been a challenging day at the Red Bull Ring, one of the more simpler circuits on the calendar. But next time out, we'll be making our way all the way to the United Kingdom for week number 9. And on the Saturday, the 14th of February 2026, we invite you to come join us live as we cover all the racing action for our next Strength of Field event at the Brands Hatch Circuit in the United Kingdom. For it will be in the Garden of Kent that our drivers will race their way around what will be the Kentish Amphitheatre, and there as they put on a show, who exactly will be the star of it. We'll find out then, but until then, you've been watching the iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. This has been a Paul Walsh production, and until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.